Welcome everybody, I am Traren. In this video we're going to be going over basic Paladin tanking in World of Warcraft. I expect you to have a general understanding of your class abilities and talents, as we won't be going over those in detail. We will be going over your main defensive abilities and when or how to use them properly. This video is for beginners that want to get into some Mythic Plus dungeons or light raiding. These are my opinions and things that I've seen and experienced doing Mythic Plus dungeons and raids myself. Please let me know in the comments how wrong I am. First, let's take a look at all of the abilities we're going to be talking about today. Shield of Righteous, Ardent Defender, Guardian of Ancient Kings, Avenging Wrath, Divine Shield, Light of the Protector, Rebuke, Lay on Hands, Hammer of Justice, Blessing of Protection, Blessing of Freedom, and Blessing of Sacrifice. You'll notice I've broken each of these down into proactive, reactive, and both. Let's start on the left-hand side under proactive. Shield of Righteous. You're going to want to keep the armor buff from this up as often as possible. This is your main damage mitigation. I see so many people waiting until they're half health and then pop this like it's a cooldown. Just keep it up and don't drop the half health to begin with. Ardent Defender is a straight up damage reduction. You want to be using this before you take damage, obviously. Using it after you've taken a bunch of damage does nothing but help your healer catch up. Don't let him get behind and use it early. Guardian of the Ancient Kings. This is another straight up damage reduction but on a long cooldown. Use this similarly to Ardent Defender when you know you're going to be taking big damage, a large pull, or a certain boss mechanic that is predictable and hits hard. And most importantly, use it before you take the damage, obviously. Let's go over to the right hand side and look at the reactive abilities. Light of the Protector. This is purely reactive. You want to use this when you've lost some hit points, likely in between Shield of the Righteous. If you're full health, it does nothing. The lower health you are, the more healing it does. Use it carefully. Use it often. In Shadowlands, this is actually being replaced by Word of Glory. Instead of a recharge timer, you're going to be using Holy Power to cast it. However, the usage remains roughly the same. Rebuke. This is your interrupt. As a tank, you're going to be interrupting as often as possible and usually first. You'll want to set up an interrupt order with your group in most cases to avoid overlapping, but for the most part, you can't interrupt too often. You also have an interrupt with your Avenger Shield, which I didn't put on here because it's part of your main damage and tanking rotation, but occasionally you'll interrupt a spellcast accidentally with that, or you can hold it and interrupt on purpose. Lay on Hands. This is a large heal on a very long cooldown timer. You can save yourself with this, or you can save a group member. Choose wisely, but don't hesitate. Keep in mind it does cause forbearance, so you can't bubble yourself or someone else afterward. Hammer of Justice. This is a stun. You can use it on hard-hitting trash mobs. You can also use it to interrupt something that's not normally interruptible with something like Rebuke. It's a relatively short cooldown, so use it often. Avenging Wrath. This will most likely be used proactively, but it still can be used as an oh crap button from something like a bad pull, etc. Because it increases your damage, healing, and crit, there really isn't a bad time to use it, unless you're just standing around. I'd recommend using it nearly on cooldown every 2 minutes, preferably not at the end of a fight. You don't want to waste it. Divine Shield. This makes you immune to basically everything for 8 seconds. This is your go-to oh crap button. Keep in mind, you will drop aggro and have to taunt whatever you're tanking. With a large pull or multiple mobs, there is a talent that makes you automatically taunt everything around you. Otherwise, try not to use it on big pulls or your top DPS is going to be running for their life. Down at the bottom, I have Blessing of Protection, Blessing of Freedom, and Blessing of Sacrifice. These are all very situational, but pretty straightforward. Blessing of Protection protects someone's if they're taking melee damage and you can't taunt or the mob isn't tauntable. Use this to protect them. Blessing of Freedom, you can remove roots or snares from yourself or a party member whenever there's roots and snares. And Sacrifice can be used to reduce damage of a party member and you take the damage instead. Some of these you can plan for, and some of them you just have to react to the situation. That's why they're under both. The most important part of all these is making sure you have your Shield of the Righteous buff up as much as possible before taking damage. Use your other abilities to fill in when you know you'll be taking more damage than usual, and use your healing abilities when needed. Knowing the dungeon or raid really well is also very important. Practice does make perfect. Also, letting your group or raid know that you're new to tanking or new to the dungeon or raid can also be very helpful. They're either going to be supportive and help you out, or they might kick you from the group, but you don't really want to play with those guys anyways. One last thing, never ever turn your back to a boss or group of enemies. It leaves you exposed, unable to dodge, block, or parry. Just don't do it. That wraps up this video on Paladin tanking basics. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you know when future videos are released. Also, catch me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/jtraren, where we can hang out, answer questions, and do some dungeons. That's it for now. Until next time.